How's it going? I'm Juan Pablo Hernandez. Welcome to JuanPablosWorldOfFilms.com. I'm Juan Pablo Hernandez and welcome to JuanPablosWorldOfFilms.com. So, last time we talked about high concepts, creating cool characters, and making ourselves a cool little world to do this. Make a structure of a story, get it on the paper, get it made. We gotta do the behind the lens work before we can see our product in front of the lens. So, what am I gonna take you through today? We're gonna take you through proper story structure. I'll show you all the parts of the story, and then we'll kind of look a little bit at how we should be putting it together. Alright, so first things first. Let's talk about what a story's made up of. Now we got like abbreviations here, and we got names and stuff up here. So, the first part is called our status quo. It's like, what's our character's daily life like? Like, is he like awesome or like unawesome, you know? So like, if he's awesome, like he's a millionaire, his life kicks ass, he's probably not going to want to change that. Now, this is one type of story, which is our character loves the status quo, and something in his life comes and blows it out of the water, and he spends the rest of the movie trying to get it back. Now we have other status quos that are shitty, and the whole point of the story is to get that status quo higher, to raise that quality of life up. Those are our two kind of basic things you build a story around. And there's a lot of other stuff, that is the basics. Alright, so any good story has successively increasing dramatic peaks. Boom. So we get to here, the showdown. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, the first thing that we usually hit, we made our status quo up, which is our setup. We see what the world we've created looks like and what our character kind of like. Second, now, we got our catalyst. Boom, boom. This helps us kick off what direction the story is going to move in. So let's take Independence Day for instance. Everyone's seen that, so it's a good movie quote. What's the catalyst there? It's like, oh, we start seeing aliens and stuff. Wait a minute, no, let's do Good Will Hunting. Everyone's seen Good Will Hunting. What's the catalyst in Good Will Hunting? Will gets arrested. Now, see, we don't really know what the deal is, but what it does is it puts him on the radar. It puts him in the area for us to have our big event. Okay, so now that we've hit our catalyst, which is usually like just some random event that, you know, fate moves our character in a certain direction. Now, fate has put Goodwill as a janitor at, I don't know, I can't remember if it's Harvard or MIT. Irrelevant. Anyway, now the big event in that movie is somebody puts up a super hard math problem. Good old Will solves it. Boom, big event. The story is now changed and it has a definite direction. Now, this is where all the fun and games happens in our story, between the big event and the pinch. Pinch. What's the pinch? The pinch is one of the harder points to pinpoint in a movie. Now, it's usually one of a few things. One, the clarification or solidification of our problem. Second, it's when our character does something that he can no longer come back from. A good example of that would be James Cameron's Avatar. When our main character decides that he's going to fight for the blue guys instead of the human race. He can no longer come back from that decision. The pinch. Most of the story happens right here. This is a good bit of it. This is like 20-something% of the story happening right between these 2 points. And it's usually the hardest to write, but the biggest paying off. Right here. So, our crisis. Everyone's very familiar with the crisis. The all is lost moment. The moment it looks like our guys can no longer win. Crisis. Da-da. Pretty self-explanatory. Well, actually, I just explained it, so there you go. You're welcome. Next point. The showdown. This is when either the battle with the character within himself is waged, the battle with external opponent or Mother Nature is fought. Now, sometimes there's, any good story usually combines multiple of those elements. And we'll get to that when we talk about the two stories that are actually in one story. In a moment, people. Just hold on a second. Alright. Now, after the showdown, after the big face-off, if your character hasn't learned anything, your story probably sucks. The resolution. Now, a little amendment to the resolution section. You could pull off here, or here, or right at the top of the showdown. It's totally up to you. That's the artistic part of the whole movie making process. So we've talked about, boom, how we put this stuff together, like what it kind of looks like. And this hey, if you want to look at these lines, is the thing I talked about at the very beginning about quality of life. It's like, hey, here's my really, really crappy status quo quality of life, and we end up here in a really good one. That's me looping back. It's awesomeness right there. Alright, so we've covered all this stuff right here. Now let's cover the two stories in one story. What's he talking about? Oh my god, I don't know, he's being confusing. No, I'm not. Alright. First thing we have to keep the story rolling, to keep it moving, to keep the audience engaged, is have the action track. We're talking about explosions, car chases, violent people after you. That's the action part of the story, and it's like super necessary. Where a lot of movies nowadays are getting very one-dimensional and just busting out like action films like they're nothing, is because they fail to really hit the heart of the story, which is really what everything is built around. That's what makes the audience connect to the story. Without the heart of the story, you got dick. But with just the heart of the story, it's not exciting. The art is mixing these two together to a kick-ass story that is heartwarming, but also kick-ass. That would be today's lesson or session. Next time we'll talk about these individual elements, pacing here, because, sometimes these will bunch together, sometimes the pinch comes right on the heels of the conclusion, right on the heels of the showdown, like the Italian Job. Sometimes the big event is just preceded right before by the catalyst. Sometimes we barely even see the status quo. Sometimes the status quo is referred to later in the story, with like flashbacks or just tellings. This is where the artistic part comes from, but we're learning basic story structure today. So, that was basic story structure. I'm Juan Pablo Hernandez. Thanks for checking out JuanPablo'sWorldOfFilm.com, and we'll see you guys later.